Hello, my name is David A Stainforth. Together with Sandra Chapman and Watkins, we've written a paper about mapping climate change. It focuses on European temperatures, but it could be applied to any region where there are sufficient observations. The idea is to create a translation of observations of weather into observations of climate change. Climate represents the distribution of expected weather. Consider some particular location, such as Oxford in England. We don't expect the weather on every summer day in every year to be the same. Weather varies from day to day and from year to year, but climate represents the distribution of weather events and can be represented by a probability distribution.
So we want to quantify how the cumulative distribution function, the CDF, is changing in time. So I can take 9 years of data, 9 summers, and form an ensemble which would look something like this. So this is my CDF and this is temperature, and up this axis is likelihood. So for example, if I pick a temperature halfway up, 0.5, on this axis 0.5 means that half the days are colder than that temperature. Now if I look forward in time and do the same thing again, I have a different CDF. And what we want to find out is what's the change, delta T, as a function of temperature or as a function of likelihood. So now let's look at some actual data. So we're going to look at measurements from a region around Bordeaux and look at the change. So let's look at the region around Bordeaux. The red line refers to the 1950s and the green to the 1990s. And we can see that the CDFs have shifted in time, they've changed shape. The most common and slightly warmer than average temperatures have increased more than the cooler than average temperatures, or even the very hottest days. We can also extract the change in occurrence frequency of temperatures above a given threshold. Here, the red line shows that the probability of finding a day above 28 degrees Celsius has increased by 0.17.
So far so good, but the next challenge is to find out if that change is robust. To do that, we repeat the process 10 times. In each case, the two distributions are 43 years apart, but the years included in the distributions are slightly different. This gives us 10 estimates of the climate in the earlier period and 10 estimates in the later period, as shown here. If the smallest change over these 10 periods is large, then this can be taken as an indication of a significant change in climate at that quantile or threshold. This is indeed the case in Bordeaux, as shown by the red line. If the largest change is small, this can be taken as an indication of little change. This is the case in the Algarve region of Portugal, as shown here. If the difference between the minimum change and the maximum change is large, then we conclude that there is no clear signal. This plot shows an example of that case. It represents the situation in Piedmont in northern Italy.
With this approach, we can build maps of the smallest change in our sample at different quantiles. Here we see maps of the smallest change in summer temperatures at 5 quantiles across the local climate distribution. The first thing to notice is that there is very little change in the 0.05 and 0.25 quantiles in most regions. This is saying that the coolest summer days are not changing much in most places. By contrast, the upper quantiles, the hottest days, are changing a lot, but not in a uniform fashion. It is the very hottest 5% of days which are warming most in a band from southern England and northern France to Denmark. But for the 0.75 and 0.5 quantile, the generally hotter than average days, but not the very hottest, the regions of greatest warming are further south, in central France and Germany. In eastern Spain and Italy, there is warming in all quantiles. The paper presents results for both maximum daytime and minimum nighttime temperatures in summer and in winter across Europe. It also presents changes in the proportion of winter nights that fall below freezing and in summer days that go above 28 degrees C, which is a threshold that has been identified as important in building design to avoid overheating and in labour productivity. We hope this introduction has been useful, and we hope you enjoy reading the paper.